Hello and welcome to 3D modeling tutorials. Today we're going to go over how to do basic sketches in Fusion 360. This is a pretty versatile software. You can do most of your basic 3D modeling as well as their create form feature, which I'll go into in another video. In this one we're just going to go over basic sketches and how to use that for making 3D models. So to start off, when you open up this software for the first time, one of the things that you'll notice is there's only a few tools that are up here. Not in mine because I've kind of customized it to the way I wanted to. So the first thing you want to do is sort of make your toolbar customized to what you want to be using it for. What I would recommend is going through these tools and getting familiar with them and getting basic idea of what you need. What I would recommend is this 2-point rectangle, because you'll be using that a lot. The center diameter circle, which is just a basic circle that you can use, and another just a basic form. Trim, so you can get rid of, this tool allows you to get rid of lines that you don't want anymore pretty easily, and I'll show you how we do that later in the video. And the sketch dimension, so you can give lines and other forms dimensions, which is really handy. So to start off, you can either do create sketch or select a tool that you want to use to make your form, depending on what you're making. It's totally up to you what you want to start with. I usually start with either a rectangle or a circle, depending on what I want to use. We'll start with the rectangle. I'll go ahead and put this on the ZY plane. For no particular reason, I just like to use this one. And depending on what you're making, you may want to put it in a different plane just for versatility when you're making assemblies later on. So you go ahead and click that. And also you can make sketches on 3D forms, and we'll go into that later. So to make the shape, you can 2-point rectangle, you click one point and then another point, and it'll make a rectangle. You'll notice that in the middle here it turns orange. That means it's an enclosed form. So say if I were to use my trim tool and cut away one of these lines, that it's no longer orange because it's no longer enclosed. So alright, just go ahead and draw that back in. Also, another thing on these tools, I don't know if I mentioned it, but in order to kind of customize it in this software, you can push these little this little arrow button and it'll shoot it up there to the top. So say for example I want to put in this spline, hit the button and it pops up right there. And if I want to get rid of it, hit the little X and back to normal. Okay, so got our first rectangle. We can go ahead and give it dimensions with our sketch dimension tool. Like I said, I'll be using this a lot, so you might want to just go ahead and put that in the toolbox firsthand, along with your circle and rectangle, and whatever else you feel like you might need. It's completely up to you. Go ahead and draw another couple rectangles here. I'm going to make sort of like a step form. So if you notice here, when I have my rectangle selected, there's a little X, and that allows me to just line it up with my other line here. And then if I have it right in the center, there's a little triangle that pops up, and it's signifying that you're at the midpoint. So if I want to put it there, oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so if I want to put it there in the middle, it'll just go ahead and lock it there at the midpoint, and this little constraint will pop up, and that's what these little wave-looking things are as well. The horizontal and vertical constraints, which are sort of pre-programmed into the software for rectangles. And there's probably other shapes that it does this for too, but yeah. So that's what those are. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this trim tool. like we did before. You can either click the individual line, or what I like to do is just click and drag and it'll delete whatever you go over. So pretty handy. So we have this kind of basic step shape we're going for. I'm going to go ahead and give it a few more dimensions. If you notice, you can select either the point or the line as a reference for all that. One of the things that I'm not too happy about with Fusion 360 that is a pretty nice part about SolidWorks is, which is another 3D modeling software, is that it doesn't have indicators on your lines, on your sketch lines, that say whether whether your form is completely defined. And what I mean by that is I can take a point that's underdefined, like this one here, and just sort of move it around. And it's like, no, it's kind of annoying because you know, there's nothing really telling me that, hey, that's still movable. And maybe in some cases you do want that to move. Say if you want to constrain another part of your shape, and you just kind of want to leave that ambiguous until that other part is dimensioned. But in most cases, you want your entire shape to your entire sketch to be fully defined, so that way you're not you know, putting in new parts and having you know, and having the parts you already put in like moving around and stuff. So I'll just put that dimension in there and we're good to go. Another thing is, if you want to make, say, your own constraints here, if you want to, say, make this, you know, or say make a line vertical or horizontal, depending on what you want to use it for. I'll just go ahead and put one in here. You can use this sketch palette, and when you first use the program, it'll probably look like this. So maybe if you have the browser open, it'll be all the way at the bottom, so it might be, you know, kind of hard to find at first. What I would recommend is just, you know, pulling it off, you know, click and drag, and then locking it to the side here. That's what I like to do because it's always easy to find. It's not annoyingly down here on the bottom of the screen all the time. And this browser always, sometimes it won't shoot to the bottom, but usually it will, and I don't know, it's just a pain. So you can put it wherever you want, but the way I like to do it is just put it here, and I can drop it down. So in here you have all your constraints. I'll go over what all these are and how to use them in a different video. But just to kind of show you how they work, we have this horizontal, vertical constraint, and they work for both, strangely enough. Basically, if you have a line that's somewhat horizontal or somewhat vertical, it'll put it in the orientation that it's closest to. So in that case, it was more horizontal. And then if I wanted to make that vertical, I can select, here, let me do that again. I can select the constraint until it highlights and then hit delete, and then kind of make that vertical again. And it automatically put it in that time. And now that's vertical. Just kind of show you what, if it wasn't doing that, you just, you know, almost vertical, and then you put the constraint in, and good to go. Okay, so the next tool, kind of show you how to use this circle, the circle tool, and pretty self-explanatory. You just click where you want to put the circle, expand it out to whatever diameter you want, and then dimension it. Once again, you have no indication that this is fully defined, so I'm just going to kind of give you a guideline for this. You want a horizontal and vertical dimension for the placement, and then a diameter. So you're looking for 3 constraints to the origin, which is this little pink dot right here. So that way everything kind of lines up the way you want it to. And then my diameter. Okay, and then I can't move it around. It's not getting bigger or smaller. Oops. Click and drag, yeah. So there we go. That's how that works. And then if you have, say, if you put a circle or anything like on the origin, then you don't need to do that. Do the horizontal and vertical dimensions because it's already defined by the origin. So whenever you're making your sketch, if you notice I started at the origin when I made my first rectangle. You always want to do that so that way your sketch isn't going to be like moving around your plane, because that's no fun. It's just annoying. Yeah. Another thing that can help with that I probably should have put in the beginning of this video is construction lines, and they will help lock your sketch to the origin. So I'll just show you how those work. You start off with just a regular line, and then what you can do is click on it, and this little construction button will pop up. And if you click on that, it makes the line dashed. So when you say extrude something, the software doesn't recognize it as a solid line. It's just something that you can use as a tool to basically relate every other part of your sketch to your origin. And sometimes they're handy, sometimes they're not. It just depends on personal preference. I was able to, make this kind of basic sketch without using them. And, I mean, you don't have to, but it's good practice, and it can be a useful tool. So yeah, that is all I have for this video, and thank you for watching.